This is the World Report for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, April 2018. Coming up, a prolonged season of urgent responses. The church and its people join hands to help as the Americas face challenges of earthquakes, floodwaters, and fires, from the Caribbean to the coast of California.
It was pretty scary seeing a wall of fire coming towards your house.
His life and legacy are memorialized as a tower of service to both the church and to the world that began at a very early age. As prophet and president, Thomas S. Monson brought the church past remarkable milestones in a new era, while demonstrating to all a personal mission to lift the lonely and the forgotten. We'll have coverage of President Monson's funeral moments from now.
With the passing of President Monson, the Quorum of the 12 convened, and under inspired leadership, they called Russell M. Nelson as president and prophet. Dallin H. Oaks was called as first counselor, and Henry B. Eyring was called as second counselor. We begin with the news conference announcing their callings the morning of January 16th. In a broadcast from the Salt Lake Temple, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were able to participate in the announcement of a new first presidency following the passing of President Monson.
We're pleased to announce to you this morning that President Russell M. Nelson was set apart as the 17th president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on January 14, 2018. With President Dallin H. Oaks as first counselor and President Henry B. Eyring as second counselor in the first presidency.
Words are inadequate to tell you what it felt like to have my brethren who hold all the priesthood keys restored through the prophet Joseph Smith in this dispensation, place their hands upon my head to ordain and set me apart as president of the church. It was a sacred and humbling experience.
Following the announcement to members, a news conference was held where members of the press from around the world were able to ask questions and hear insights from the newly called presidency.
Because of God's love for his children, he has given us commandments, he's given us a plan to achieve the highest blessings he has for his children.
It's the best of times of the millennials, and I know there's a lot of folks who like to talk the other way of how are we going to hold on to them. I think the thing is, how can we hold on to them and not be left behind?
I give you my assurance that regardless of the world's condition and your personal circumstances, you can face the future with optimism and joy.
Latter-day Saints and friends of the church around the world express their admiration for President Thomas S. Monson, who passed away on January 2nd.
Never let a problem to be solved become more important than a person to be loved.
Known for his unending devotion to people and decades of service to the church, an outpouring of kind remembrance brought thousands to the conference center to hear and share their feelings for the prophet they loved so much.
President Monson never sought the limelight. In a world now saturated with selfies, he modeled selflessness. He gave his own time to visit, bless, and love others.
President Monson, by simply trying his best, left an unforgettable legacy of love. He loved the Lord and he loved people. He saw our potential and believed sincerely in our ability to change and progress.
The number of individuals who loved him through his personal kindnesses is known only to the God who sent him to care for them.
He abounded in knowledge, faith, love, and compassion, leading and serving never from a pedestal, but always eye to eye.
My feelings are tender for this man I have known and loved for more than 50 years. There have been and will yet be many tears of separation. We will really miss him, but our sorrow is assuaged by the atonement of the Lord Jesus Christ.
There is no better way to honor my Father, the prophet, and our Savior Jesus Christ than to live every day so that at its close, we can truly say, I feel I've done some good today.
The church also remembers the unique and lifelong contributions of Apostle Robert D. Hales, who passed away on October 1st, the Sunday of last October's General Conference.
Dear brothers and sisters, we welcome you to the funeral services for our beloved associate, Elder Robert D. Hales.
The funeral service for Elder Hales was held inside the tabernacle on Temple Square, where his family, colleagues in the 12, and members of the First Presidency offered a glimpse into his life and ministry.
My personal feelings developed over associations that began more than 70 years ago. We have shared experiences that stretched and strengthened us, and some that tested us. I have in every instance learned from him.
I've witnessed the great courage and complete dedication of Robert D. Hales. My dear friend has always been a hero to me, and I know he's now relieved and at peace with his beloved parents.
Bob's perseverance in the face of health challenges is legendary. We who have watched him have wondered, how could he do it? With the courage of a jet pilot, the tenacity of a champion athlete, the humility and devotion of a disciple of the Lord, Elder Hales has completed his life's mission in a most exemplary way. He has passed the tests of mortality and returned home with highest honors.
The earthquake in central Mexico last September claimed the lives of hundreds of people and leveled dozens of buildings. As the recovery continues, so too does the ministry of church leaders who have traveled there in the quake's aftermath. Sister Reina I. Aburto, second counselor in the Relief Society General Presidency, arrived in the state of Oaxaca to visit survivors in November.
You know, these things happen and sometimes we don't know why. But we can find that hope and that strength in the Lord.
In February, Elder Neil L. Anderson of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles visited Jojutla, Mexico. He was joined by Elder Lynn G. Robbins of the Presidency of the 70 and Elder Paul B. Piper of the 70.
That night, I was so sad, so sad. Everything came down.
Rosa walks among rubble in a vacant lot that used to be her home, built by her husband decades ago.
Everything is ruined. Everything he left me.
Rosa, like thousands of others, lost everything from the force of an 8.2 magnitude earthquake last year, striking September 7th, and another hitting September 19th that registered 7.1. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and its members joined other faiths and organizations immediately after the region-wide catastrophic quakes to care for those in need.
One of the first responses to the earthquakes was to supply food.
We took care of people's needs, and once everything was okay, then we took care of the buildings.
More than 1,200 Mormon volunteers came from other states in Mexico to help, self-contained, with their own provisions, shelter and tools, ready to work.
You have been an institution that has helped us so much from the beginning, seeing buses of people get here without any need, without any hesitation. They were willing to work, and that touched my heart.
In Jojutla, Roberto and his wife Gloria now live in the lower level of their home with a makeshift kitchen after the destructive jolt, And despite missing pets and a collapsed top story, they join their Latter-day Saint congregation to serve the needs of their neighbors.
We went house by house to see those that needed help. And yes, we were able to help.
In Juchitán, Latter-day Saint teens and their church leaders worked on this widow's house to make way for new construction.
We were able to come together and involve even more members with this type of service and provide greater help to our community.
Church engineers with heavy equipment removed large debris in Rosa's lot in preparation for construction. Rosa says she'll have to replace the house she once had with one much smaller. After yet another 7.2 tremor rippled through the southern Mexico region in February of this year, the people of Mexico remain focused on the future, rebuilding what nature destroyed, while the LDS Church remains committed to aid in those rebuilding efforts.
The earthquake lasted an entire lifetime because the work of a lifetime was lost in a little more than a minute. But we are in this together with the hope of rebuilding the city, with the hope that the people will move forward and feel good again.
It has been 5 months since the worst hurricane to hit Puerto Rico devastated this Caribbean island. Yet full recovery is years away. In countless rural areas, residents remain without electricity, and the trail of destruction is a reminder that so many ongoing challenges are being confronted by groups and individuals.
They have been through a pretty traumatic time in Puerto Rico because of Hurricane Maria. These people have a real place in my heart. Sister Davies and I were here as mission president and companion for 3 years, from 1998 to 2001.
Bishop Dean M. Davies, along with Elder Jose L. Alonso of the Caribbean Area Presidency, recently spent several days in Puerto Rico to lend a listening ear, to make additional donations, and to offer their love and support. The church, in partnering with a number of organizations, is often among the first to respond in times of disaster, and together, much is being done to alleviate suffering in the Caribbean region. With the impact of the hurricane, missionaries were temporarily relocated to their home countries and then recently returned to once again provide service and care.
Since I've been back, it's been just a huge tender mercy. I love it here. It was my original call, and stepping off that plane again, I feel like not very many missionaries get that same feeling of like stepping on their mission again, and I got to experience that twice.
My companion and I went to a mutual activity, and the young women saw us and they ran to us and they hugged us and they were crying and they embraced us, and it was such a tender moment.
Throughout their time spent, the message offered was one of hope and healing.
We want them to know that they have not been overlooked and that we will reach out and extend our love and compassion in time of need. That's what the gospel's all about.
It was pretty scary seeing a wall of fire coming towards your house.
There was flames on both sides. The wind was blowing the fire across the road, and I thought maybe my car would catch on fire.
You could just feel it radiating through the windows. You know, are the tires going to make it? Are the windows going to burst out?
Amidst the worst fire season in California's modern history, the Tubbs Fire in Napa, Sonoma, and Lake counties was the most destructive, claiming dozens of lives and destroying more than 2,800 homes. And it's the reason Elder Ronald A. Rasband of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles and Sister Joy D. Jones of the Primary General Presidency came to minister during the last weekend of October.
We do love you. We do pray for you and have been through every week of this disaster.
Sister Jones and Elder Rasband visited the remains of the Coffey Park neighborhood in Santa Rosa, where hundreds of homes were burnt to the ground.
One of the hardest things for me to do is get in my pickup at the end of the day and go to leave the yard and not know where I'm going. I'm not going home anymore. That's the hard part.
Throughout the fire, several LDS church buildings were used to house people in need of shelter.
I heard on the radio that there was a Mormon church that was accepting evacuees. I'm not a member of the church, but it was like I was their family from day one.
When something like this happens, we all need one another. That thought has come to my mind here this morning as I've seen how these wonderful brothers and sisters who've lost every earthly possession have just loved being with each other and looked to each other for love and comfort.
Love is such a great gift that our Heavenly Father has given us, and I feel love for you this day. As we join in unity, through highs and lows, we can still choose to be happy.
Straight ahead, President Nelson meets with the rising generation, and his message carries an impact to friends of the church as well.
I'm not a member of the Mormon church, but to me, I've always looked up to the Mormon church, particularly the prophet.
Hundreds of young adults between the ages of 18 and 30 waited in line at a church in Las Vegas in February to see and hear the new president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's the first assignment of its kind for President Russell M. Nelson, who spoke to a capacity audience of nearly 1,000, while others watched from 3 overflow buildings through a closed-circuit broadcast.
One of the most important things you need to learn in life is to know who you really are. Learn about your parents, your grandparents, and their forebears. If possible, interview them, take notes. You, as a true millennial, were born to be a true disciple of Jesus Christ. In fact, the only way for you to be a true millennial is to be one of his dependable millennial disciples.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here and to be in the same room as the prophet.
I'm not a member of the Mormon church, but to me, I've always looked up to the Mormon church, particularly the prophet. The example he set in terms of his moral principles and the way he lives his life is so inspirational to me as a non-member of the church.
I just got baptized about a month ago, and everything that he said, I felt personally that it was what I needed to hear.
You can tell that the Nelsons are meant for our generation in this time. They're the people that we need to lead us.
Typically known as the opening act in an entertainment show, the Christian Fellowship Chorale proceeded in this case as the featured act. In an address given at a religious symposium on the scenic campus of Chapman University in Southern California and sponsored by the John A. Widtsoe Foundation, Bishop Gerald Cosset, presiding bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, spoke from the heart. His stirring remarks drew upon the history of the internationally respected welfare and humanitarian programs of the LDS faith.
It is our conviction that no person can truly claim to love God without also reaching out and lifting up God's children.
Speaking before a crowd of more than 800 guests comprised of Chapman University administration and faculty, along with community and faith leaders, Bishop Cosset outlined the principles behind the programs.
It is this phenomenon, the mutually beneficial impact that service has on both giver and receiver, that drives us as a church to not only provide aid through donated money and supplies, but to build in opportunities for service and personal interaction. Our church family, if you will, is expanded to include partners and community members like many of you today, who, though not of our faith, are nonetheless united with us by the shared value of caring for those in need.
Sydney, Australia is one of the most multicultural cities in the world. People of many faiths call Australia home, where a public conversation is currently underway on the topic of religious freedom. About 80 legal academics and leaders of faith-based organizations gathered for a religious freedom conference at the law school on the Sydney campus of the University of Notre Dame, Australia. Sister Sharon Eubank, director of LDS Charities and a member of the Relief Society General Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, was invited to speak at the conference.
I truly believe that there is no significant change without significant relationships. And humanitarian acts rooted in the sincere relationship and a desire to heal and listen and cooperate and respect is the most potent, transformational agent for change as anything that I've experienced on the earth.
There's no real protection of religious freedom in our law in Australia. So we now need to find out how can we establish this as an aspect of law.
This isn't just something we do because it's noble or it helps society. It's something that we must do because of our deeply held belief that we're all brothers and sisters.
Children playing in mud, doing what children do in a place that is not really child-friendly.
For the safety, it's a whole lot safer, but there is no help. The men cannot work, children cannot go to school. It's a bad situation.
Yet safer than the home that they left in Syria.
Everywhere we went, there were airstrikes. We couldn't stay in Syria because they bombed it.
LDS Charities is partnering with Rahma Relief Foundation to support refugees in the Akkar region of Lebanon. Salah is a volunteer from Damascus.
We can't cover all the families, and we take just the supportive items for the most in-need families.
A sad commentary echoed throughout this mountainous region where significant flooding washed out homes. Rahma Relief and LDS Charities are bringing clothing, blankets, heating fuel, and hope.
We did the emergency response of what we have right now with the blankets, mattresses, and also we came here to bring some gifts to the kids.
2 containers were shipped from LDS Charities, mostly items to address freezing temperatures. And on this day, a steady rain.
The situation here in Lebanon is misery. All the people are in need, and we have to help them.
This current effort will benefit over 62,000 men, women, and children.
We're so happy to see you here, to have you here. You can see the happiness in the kids' eyes.
LDS Charities has 23 winterization projects across 5 countries, where the church is lifting people who find themselves in unlivable conditions. Still to come, the unity of different faiths expressed through courage and lifting that freedom even higher.
We are here tonight from different backgrounds, different religions, and we have so many wonderful things in common.
For millions and millions of Americans, religious freedom is one of their most cherished rights. Protected by the U.S. Constitution as their first freedom, religious freedom is a fundamental human right. On an early day in November in Detroit, Michigan, world faith leaders came together at an interfaith religious conference to advance that conversation. Detroit Archbishop Alan Vigneron of the Catholic Church and Elder Von G. Keach of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints were keynote speakers to a diverse and attentive audience eager to learn more.
Religious liberty is a God-given right. It is essential to all men and women exercising their agency and learning to choose between right and wrong.
The basis for why we are free is that we have an obligation to seek the truth, especially in what concerns God.
In addition to the Mormon and Catholic sponsorship of the conference, Buddhists, Seventh-day Adventists, Sikhs, Muslims, members of the Jewish community, and other religions played an important role in the day's discussions.
In today's world, the most effective way to protect everyone's rights is for each side to stand up for the other's core rights.
Standing up for religious liberty is an act of patriotism, and defending religious liberty is a great act by which we seek to make our country better.
It was with heavy hearts that his family, his friends, and his fellow leaders of the church mourned the sudden passing of Elder Von G. Keach of the 70. While hospitalized for a brief illness in Salt Lake City, Elder Keach passed away on January 26th. He was 57 years old.
An international group of women's faith leaders gathered in the UK in February. Sister Jean B. Bingham and Sister Joy D. Jones attended the Interfaith Conference, representing the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
We are here tonight as mothers from different backgrounds, different religions, and we have so many wonderful things in common.
We have the responsibility as well as the blessing of serving those in need. When doing so, we find that uniting in good works is not only beneficial to others, but is ennobling to the soul.
The conference also served to gather supplies for those in need in the Middle East.
I think service with people of different cultures, of different faiths, is extremely important.
We as women of faith have a lot in common, and when we hold hands together, we're stronger.
When we work together, we not only strengthen the bonds between religions, but individual lives are blessed as we reach out to help those in need.
Coming up, Christmas arrives with pageantry and the choir's stirring rendition of old favorites with new voices. And the biggest family history convention found anywhere helps you find your family tree, even as it grows right in front of you. The church has long been admired and emulated for its welfare outreach and programs that lift people in need. That was the center point of U.S. President Donald Trump's visit and tour of Welfare Square in Salt Lake City in December.
This is very exciting for me. I know so many people that are in your church. The job you've done is beyond anything you can think of.
Good stuff. We're here in a place where we have food and material that we give to the poor, but this is simply an example of what we do across the world.
Come on outside, let's get a picture, come on.
We're very proud of you, really proud of you.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
The Mormon Tabernacle Choir and orchestra at Temple Square brought their world-class talent home to Salt Lake City for the Christmas concert in December. And like the audience, visiting headliners Sutton Foster and Hugh Bonneville were just as captivated by the event as those who came to see them all perform.
As soon as I walked on stage, I just was so overwhelmed. It's just an experience unlike anything else.
I'm thrilled. I mean, obviously the choir's work is world famous. This particular concert's been on my radar for a long time. It's about creating an atmosphere that's both huge in scale but also intimate in its emotional content.
Sunshine on my shoulders.
When we first started talking about repertoire, I said I want to sing Sunshine on My Shoulders, which I was like, I know it's not a Christmas song, but I really want to sing that and I would love to dedicate it to my mom.
The love and the commitment that these people who are volunteering give to this is extraordinary. I've never seen it before, and to share it with so many people is quite something.
The ever-expanding interest and popularity of Ancestry returns to center stage in Salt Lake City for the world's largest family history conference, RootsTech. President Dallin H. Oaks of the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and his wife Kristen were keynote speakers.
Today, we will show how to discover family members, gather their stories, and connect with them as an eternal family.
If you want a happier family, create, refine, and retell the stories of your ancestors' positive moments.
With accelerating innovative computer and communication technology, never before has so much information been available to so many.
In the Family Search Family Tree app, there's Relatives at RootsTech, where you can connect with a third cousin or a fourth cousin that's here.
That kind of present-day relevance of family history was also presented by Olympic gold medalist Scott Hamilton.
Family's not just bloodline. Family is whoever's in your life, looking after you right now. Whoever's there to, meet your needs and look after you every single day, that's family.
Latin recording artist Natalia Lafourcade came to speak and sing at RootsTech, performing the Oscar-winning song Remember Me from the Pixar animated feature film Coco. While on stage, she was presented with her own personal family history from Latin America and Mexico.
My sister is not gonna believe this. And I got very emotional because this is something that I've been going through with my sisters.
The conference closed with a musical production, My Family, Mi Herencia. The performance, featuring Luz de las Naciones, Light of the Nations, was held in the conference center on Temple Square with a cast of more than 1,000 people celebrating the cultures of Latin America.
I know that this house will be a blessing to all of you and to your families and for the generations.
Straight ahead, new temple dedications in the West, and new ground is broken in the Caribbean. We'll take you there.
The church continues on in a remarkable period of temple dedications, groundbreaking, and temple restoration. We begin in North America and to the Meridian, Idaho temple, which was dedicated last fall on November 19th.
The house of the Lord is such a wonderful spot in our life where we can focus our celestial navigation.
Elder Dieter F. Uchtdorf, then second counselor in the First Presidency, conducted the dedicatory sessions and led the ceremonial placement of the cornerstone before a public gathering on Sunday morning. From Meridian, Idaho, we move south along the Wasatch Corridor to the dedication of the Cedar City, Utah temple. On the morning of Sunday, December 10th, Henry B. Eyring, then first counselor in the First Presidency, officiated in the cornerstone ceremony and dedicatory sessions, along with Elder Jeffrey R. Holland of the 12.
Thank you for all you do and for your faithfulness. I know that this house will be a blessing to all of you and to your families and for the generations.
And much farther south we go, all the way to the Caribbean and to the site of what will be the Port-au-Prince Haiti Temple. Elder Walter F. Gonzalez of the 70 presided over the groundbreaking held October 28th. With 10 million Haitian citizens and more than 20,000 Latter-day Saints residing here, the temple will be the first for the country of Haiti. Returning to North America and to the Salt Lake Valley's Jordan River Temple, where transformative renovations have been completed for a rededication planned in May.
Latter-day Saint temples are a fixture of permanence wherever they're built in the world. They may vary in age and appearance, but what they openly share in their enduring nature is very much like the lasting faith Mormons have in the divine.
Temples are for the people. It's for the patrons who come to the temples.
The spire, with its drape motif-inspired windows and sweeping exterior design, make the Jordan River Temple a familiar landmark in Utah's Salt Lake Valley, becoming one of the busiest temples in the world after its dedication in 1981. For the last 2 years, though, nearly 70% of its interior has undergone a transformation, turning steel-framed walls into precision-smooth finishes. Reduced to its interior walls, transforming into renewed warmth. 6 instruction rooms, where devout members learn about God's love, creation, and purpose of life. 16 sealing rooms, where families are joined together for eternity. And the celestial room, symbolizing heaven itself. Brass and acrylic lenses shine through crystal fixtures, imported from Austria and shaped with simplicity their Art Deco design. A motif also found in the bride's room. Paintings reminiscent of the creation. And other works depicting Jesus and his followers have been retouched and enhanced. And new commissioned work of the temple's namesake, the nearby Jordan River, graces the baptistry. Even the space that once connected the floors with an interior escalator is redesigned with a grand staircase, showcasing art glass on the 2nd and 3rd floors. Mahogany fluted millwork fashioned by specialists in northern and southern Utah. while the floor features imported marble from Turkey. The work so many have undertaken is multi-layered. Not all of it obvious to the eye, but every bit as important. Like waterproofing the foundation.
We have put such quality materials and systems in, especially into this temple, that we anticipate a 40 to 50 year window where we wouldn't have to do that again.
And replacing 1970s technology with 21st century efficiency, including LED lighting, state-of-the-art boilers, and natural gas turbines.
There's a new technology they call cogeneration, where you can create your own power in your building. These units are gas-driven. We're saving anywhere from 50 to 60% of our energy costs in the building.
If we can reduce utility costs, it not only reduces the cost of the church, but it's a blessing to the community, and we become better stewards of our environment.
The Jordan River Temple symbolizes renovations taking place now and in the future all over the globe. From the new protections of the foundational base and the seismic upgrades above to high-efficiency heating and air systems, the Jordan River Temple is set to reopen this spring with its prophetic and spiritual purpose intact and its longevity assured.
Still to come, they braved the storm and found ways to bounce back, stronger together. Plus, helping others in a hurry and with Olympic proportions. These stories and more in the news.
Over the ocean and to the islands of Tonga and Samoa, Cyclone Gita swept across the South Pacific in mid-February, flooding communities and inflicting heavy damage on buildings large and small. Mormon Helping Hands volunteers have been active in the cleanup and rebuilding efforts ever since. The Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea took on the spotlight of the world in February, and with a little help from Latter-day Saint volunteers, made communicating across language barriers a whole lot easier. Mormon Helping Hands set up a center in Gangneung and offered translation assistance in 9 languages. Olympic goers stopping in could also charge up a device and learn about their own family history at the center, which remained open for the Paralympics in March.
He brings these images of sadness, and then he says to people who are looking at the paintings, show compassion for these people. And he wants a Christian response to things that are dark and sad.
He was one of the most celebrated American artists of the early 20th century. And though his life was brief, his newly gathered work lives on. A rare collection of the paintings and drawings of Joseph Paul Vorst, a Mormon convert who emigrated to the U.S. from Germany, are on display until mid-April at the Church History Museum. In November, Sister Jean B. Bingham, General President of the Relief Society, traveled to Brussels to speak before members of the European Parliament in a conference called Women in Faith.
Empowering women should be a priority for all because they are a potent force for creating a society where peace, religious freedom, and human rights can truly thrive.
LDS Charities Director Sharon Eubank was invited to a roundtable discussion in London last December. There, she met with Prince Charles and founders of AMAR, the 27-year-old organization aiding people in regions of conflict, most recently, the plight of the Yazidi people of Iraq. AMAR's patron, Prince Charles, recognized LDS Charities' contributions and collaboration with AMAR as it helped to save lives and build healthcare facilities in the Middle East.
De modo que en esta gran labor de asegurar las amplias libertades del alma, esforcémonos todos juntos, prensa, religión, educación, negocios, para elevar nuestras comunidades e inculcar valores para nuestro florecimiento mutuo.
Elder D. Todd Christofferson of the 12 brought a portion of his ministry to hundreds of Latin American journalists to the annual assembly of the Inter-American Press Association last October. Having served as a missionary in Argentina, Elder Christofferson spoke to the journalists in Spanish, complimenting the association for defending religious freedom, saying that in doing so, they also advanced the cause for upholding other human rights as well.
The church is making plans to display the printer's manuscript of the Book of Mormon in coming months at the Church History Library. Through private donations, the church purchased the manuscript from the Community of Christ, which held the religious documents for more than a century. As the earliest surviving copy of the Book of Mormon, it contains about 72% of the original text. Plans are also underway to post digital images of the manuscript online at josephsmithpapers.org.
When we come back, they know their storied history. They keep the Book of Life always tucked away in their memory.
We are interviewing our families because these people are the ones that kept the family information.
The men are dying and the young men are not there to listen. And in our language, we have a proverb. As an old man dies, it's as if a library burns down.
I can only think that there's nothing more urgent than to capture the information from the generation before they pass.
There are no archives for me to go and search in, so I just have to go and rely on an old woman or old man in the family for history. If you go and they are not dead, you'll be lucky, but if you are dead, it's a big problem.
Due to widespread illiteracy in many parts of Africa, most genealogical records reside only in the memories of family elders and tribal leaders. Most of them, however, are now in their 70s, well above the average life expectancy of 55. Family Search, operated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is therefore battling against time to acquire and preserve these genealogies before the opportunity is lost forever.
The notion of having written records, christening dates, baptismal dates, marriage certificates, in many parts of the world, that is not common. Sometimes it's a matter of collecting oral histories.
For centuries, African people, they were attached or tied to the oral traditions. People were preserving their family history that way, from one generation to another one. We are interviewing the chief of the village, we are interviewing the chief of clans, we are interviewing the chief of tribe or families, because these people are the ones that kept the family information.
What you find in the villages everywhere we go is that they're connected with their ancestors. They invite their ancestors into the conversation when we're with them. They talk to their ancestors in a way as if they're there and present. It's a beautiful experience for everyone involved. We hear some amazing stories too. The storytellers, the elders in the village, they'll tell us about where they came from and how they came to be. They'll talk about their migration, they'll talk about the wars. And that's really great information, and we collect that through the audio recording. One person holds all the records in an oral genealogy. Nobody else knows that information. When they pass from this earth, they're gone. The oral genealogy in Africa is maybe 250 million names to collect.
Family Search has recently interviewed some remarkable individuals. This man from Sickensee, a town in southeastern Ivory Coast, was able to recall over 2,500 of his ancestors, while others have shared details of descendants as far back as the 14th century, including some taken into slavery.
When Family Search engages in this work and they collect that information, they do share it online through Family Search, but they also give a copy of that record back to the village.
They will be able to leave something to their children. That means even if they passed away, their children will be able to find a record that they can use, in their lives. And this is why it is very important for us.
The availability of these records, not just to members of our church, but to local communities and to governments, is very important.
During 2018, Family Search hopes to conduct over 51,000 interviews and record more than 200,000 hours of audio recordings. This will result in the collection of over 15 million genealogically linked names across 12 African countries, most of which would have otherwise been lost forever.
This has been the World Report of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, April 2018.
To watch World Report online, log on to MormonNewsroom.org.